Annoying.
Recording right now.
You're recording right now. Don't record this. Bloopers.
That's gonna be the intro. Make sure
Go
you
on.
smash that like button and subscribe button. This is probably going at the start of the video, but yeah, make sure you do that. Everybody.
Yep.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Dust 2. I'm not sure. We've got Swisher here joined with us, and myself, Exner, and Joe Cardali here today. We're gonna be talking about a whole lot of things. We don't have like quite a nailed down outline to say, but definitely a lot of stuff on the docket just because of all the news that's been coming out with well, everything going on in North America. You know, we've got chaos and all of that. I believe we haven't touched since the last
Literal
episode.
chaos.
Yeah, everything is in
Literal
chaos.
chaos.
But Swisher, I want to first say congratulations because you all were able to win advanced a little while back and your roster gaming. So I want to start off by talking about that because you're a special
Thank you so
guest.
much. Well, thank you. It's honestly been pretty good. Relatively felt like we deserved kind of that win in advanced. I expected to maybe fall maybe a map by GGPR in the final, but we just kind of had the momentum and just kind of took it right there.
Did you expect it even after you like 2-0'd them, I believe, like in the upper bracket final before that in a pretty easy fashion?
Yeah, I thought maybe just because I think, okay, so there was some controversy. I don't know if you guys were aware of it, whether or not we were even going to play that day.
Oh yeah, because you guys
because of
just
the-
finished DreamHacked.
Yes.
Yes.
So there was that whole, I think the rule that you can't play a best of 5 and a best of 3 on the same day, right?
Yeah.
Or that you don't have to play it.
Yeah, you can reschedule.
So I guess we could have forced the schedule, but we were just so confident we would probably win it.
Yeah.
So I figured we maybe would drop a map because we were tired or something, but no, we just kind of tanked through it. But
I mean, they did give you a bit of a run for your money, though. I mean, it's not like you guys steamrolled them. They
exactly.
they put up a good fight, and I mean, obviously they fight MDL relegation, so over there.
I think you're cutting in.
Yeah, they
in and out a
little bit, yeah. But yeah, they did like a pretty easy 2-0 in relegation. In their side of the bracket, did they?
Yeah, they 2-0'd in a really easy fashion. I don't think they dropped a map at all. Could be wrong in that, but
Kinship and SKDC.
Yeah, so I mean Kinship actually is one of the relegation teams that kind of surprised me the most. I think they finished last place in MDL last season, and then they were the only MDL team that was able to hold on to their spot. I mean, granted, you know, a lot of the MDL teams were already like kind of dissolved and heading into it. Like I think Viria Pro had like 3 retired players. The Third Impact didn't have Koala Noob anymore. Or no, they didn't even like.
No, they weren't in relegation.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not surprising that teams that were in MDL dropped, but yeah, Kinship definitely surprised me.
Yeah,
as far as go on.
No, you please.
Okay. As far as I'm aware, I was even being told that there's a good chance that roster even dies as well, the Kinship roster.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I haven't heard anything specifically about Kinship, but I mean, I know how much moves are going on in this scene, how many like advanced players are looking to try and make the move up into MDL. Like, it honestly wouldn't surprise me, especially after how rough the first season went for them.
Yeah, well, I mean, even before relegation started, Kinship basically came out and said they were going to remove NACE in like efforts to try to bring Spongy on a board. So it was unclear if NACE was going to help them in relegation or if they had to use I think Alex DB, who hasn't played any ESEA since like season 31. So that was going to be a little bit of a stretch. And yeah, I do believe that at least one, if not a couple people associated with that roster may be looking to make the move to the dreaded V word that we don't talk about, even though we talk about it every episode.
Yeah. And I don't know. I was super disappointed to see Rise not be able to make it into MDL. That was kind of one of the teams that I wanted to see in MDL, especially with Kinship being the form that they're in at the moment. But I actually covered like the last like 3 games that they played in the advanced finals, and they looked really good. I believe they were able to take down SKDC and actually knock them out of the tournament, which then of course SKDC was able to make it into MDL, which is going to be hilarious. I cannot wait. But yeah, that I feel like Rise is kind of one of the teams that if they stick together can definitely pull through. I don't know what your thoughts are on that team because you were the ones that had to play them, but
we actually I don't think we ever played that Rise roster, not once.
Just because of their changes, or like just didn't
no,
happen to play them?
I don't think we didn't happen to play them in the regular season, and then they were on the other side of the bracket in playoffs. But I casted the X Imperium and Rise game, and looking at that game, looking at how they were playing, I don't know if it was different. Maybe they were kind of more nervous or something, but they were playing a really, really slow kind of pace, which just it didn't really fit very well. They seemed kind of confused and lost, which I was kind of shocked by because I'm good friends with a couple people on that roster.
Yeah.
I was trying to help them out. Consti was actually messaging me like after the game asking like for tips on how to improve their Inferno and such, and I was kind of helping him out with like some things that my own team Gaming do to try to kind of get them to think a little bit differently, maybe run a different setup to help improve it. But I was kind of surprised to see them fall 2-0.
Yeah. Did they were able to beat X Imperium, I think, in overtime, right?
Yeah, they won 16-10, 16-14, 16-14.
Yeah. So I mean, even like I don't know, I feel like that roster, because again, that's another case where I believe if not half the team splitting up, half the team moving to Valorant, like it's dissolved.
Yeah.
Well, and on top of that, X Imperium had to play the entire second half of that map without their in-game leader.
Yeah.
So
J. Yeah, his internet
so a
has
bit of a
always
struggle bus.
been rough. But
God Kilpo.
8
God,
8 and
Kilpo.
13. Not bad though, honestly. But yeah, that was, I mean, seeing that from Rise, it was definitely using. The last team I kind of want to talk about. I mean, I do want to actually touch on GGPR after this, but GSG9, which was the only team that was able to take a map off you. You want to go into that one map there and like what the deal was with that one, because I was a little bit.
I want to pull it up real quick.
Yeah, it was, what was it? Overpass, and you guys
dreaded overpass.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god. That literally for some reason it has no reason to be our worst map, but it is. We are god awful at it. I think we had a 12 loss streak on HLTV matches, I believe, at one point on Overpass.
Oh my gosh. Well, good news is you'll be able to ban it versus every team in MDL because that's all that MDL plays.
Yes. But actually, the funny thing, we dropped it in every single match during DreamHack, and then coming into Chaos, we knew they were gonna pick it. And then prior to that match, I talked to Fastin the night before. I'm like, all right, we're gonna switch up where we're gonna play. I'm gonna go towards B. You're gonna go towards A. We're just gonna give it a whole new look, give it a whole new feel. And then we actually played like a tier 1, tier 2 overpass.
Yeah.
And just 16-9 Chaos, and that's one of their better maps where they've beat EG, Furia, Genji, and we had a really good showing on Overpass for the first time in forever.
I mean, that's a really good start. That's a way to pick up your. And that series actually turned out to be so close.
It did.
Hey.
Do you think that was just a honeymoon period, or showing them the looks that they hadn't seen before, they hadn't been able to research, or do you think you guys actually like found something that you were able to take forward on that?
Versus Chaos?
Yeah, well, I mean, like you're gonna play overpass not just against chaos. I don't know what that pronunciation was, but you know what I mean.
I'd watched like 4 or 5 overpass demos that night before. So I was counter-striking them pretty hard. But I have always defaulted towards B for like 7 seasons on RT side, and I had been going towards A on this since I joined and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go B. I don't care what you say. I'm gonna go B. Fast, you're gonna go A. Just shut up and go A, please.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I'm just so much more comfortable towards Fast. Actually, that was his first time going B. He had never gone B before on the T side default, so I don't know why he was going B. I don't know why I was going A. But definitely, we just kind of, our overpass just is so weird sometimes. We play confident, and then we just kind of lose one important round on like a rotate or something, and then we just get so scared and just drop round after round.
How is like the communication overall with you guys? Because obviously you have 3 Brazilians, 2 Americans. Like how does that all work out for you guys? That can't be like the easiest thing to navigate.
I mean, there's some issues that we kind of run into. There was actually, I think, on a Mirage in that DreamHack match against Whalers, Duma and I were in a 2v1, and Duma was calling firebox instead of triple, because I guess in every other language they pronounce firebox as triple and triple as firebox. I don't know why, but they swap them between English, and he was saying firebox, firebox, firebox. And I'm looking firebox, and he's triple, and I'm like, he's triple.
Yeah.
And then there's a few issues, but mainly it's pretty good. I think Duma still takes English lessons almost daily through Duolingo. But RCF and Fast they're all pretty well spoken with it. They usually speak though in Portuguese to each other if it's like a 2v2, and Fast and Duma are alive or something, then they'll speak Portuguese to each other, which is totally understandable.
Yeah. So when you and Boo are in a 2v2, you guys are just commenting, some Inglando, or you still do the Portuguese?
we didn't even learn Portuguese. They just coming into it, they said that they wanted to actually learn English. Get Duma and RCF and Fast to learn English better. I don't know. It's probably better overall for life skills in and out of Counter-Strike for them to get a better grasp on English. So
yeah, I mean, how do you have like obviously you have your perspective of how you came to be part of this whole like new gaming experiment that is happening, but do you know how you popped up on their radar? Because I mean, like, there's obviously like a bunch of other players in MDL that they could potentially have kind of look to, but here you are, and obviously very, very lucky because you're back in MDL with a very formidable team.
So I'd really never spoken to RCF or Duma at all very much. Coming into that cash cup, the first cash cup that I like ringered for them after IDK left, or was benched. Our Fast had messaged me going, "Hey, you wanna ring for us for a cash cup?" I'm like, "Sure." I mean, it's probably gonna go horrible because you're all 4 gonna be speaking Portuguese and I'll be in English by myself. But it sounds fun. I had met Fast from playing Rank S. He was literally always A anchoring on Mirage. I'm like, he just doesn't drop the bomb site ever. He literally kills 3 people every time, and I'm like, he's so good. I don't know, it's insane. But yeah, we actually went into that, and I think we lost to Soul Patrol in the final, a 2-1 map series. But yeah, it was so weird. Honestly, it was so weird because there really wasn't very much English at all at that point. It was me just kind of, they were like, Swish, go do whatever you want. Literally go do whatever you want. We're gonna go all 4A, you just go mid and do whatever you want. I'll be like, okay, I'll kill 2.
That's kind of I think the first success story of the Cash Cup, so that's kind of good to see because I really liked that them introducing those, and I don't know. I don't know what they changed exactly with the rank S prize pools, but I guess like, being able to ring her in and test out. I think we saw the same thing for was it Viz testing out in RBG's roster too. So definitely like a good use of that sort of combo.
Yeah, depth or the former depth roster as well, trying out Rec as well for their 5th spot. Timbermen, as they are known.
Oh yeah, because all the orcs are exiting, but we'll get into that later.
We have time for that.
True.
Yeah, I'm wondering if
I can go forever, so you have to stop me.
I mean, yeah, I'm wondering if when FPL Cups are going to come back, because I think it's been almost a month since then.
Yeah, like the Dust 2 Cup and all of that stuff. You have any idea?
I don't think
insider information. Joe?
I have no insider information. I mean, all I can say from like a non-insider information perspective is that what ESEA does or what Faceit does or vice versa, the other will, eventually copy or try to replicate. Although this will come up in our later discussion, maybe that has actually been very detrimental to the development of or non-development of North American CS.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point that you bring up, because the one thing I kind of, if we want to talk a little bit more about cash cups, is that I feel like ESEA, the one thing that they were kind of missing, and the one thing that Faceit did really well, and like ESEA just hasn't adopted yet, was, I don't know if y'all remember that first Mythic Cash Cup, which of course it had like Flom, backing it up, and so it's gonna have pretty good viewership compared to like a typical Cash Cup, because all of Flom's viewers are gonna be paying attention to it and catching those. But it had like really good production. It had like Darth Mike doing that interview with Twice, and that like moment that kind of blew up on Twitter. But we haven't seen like ESA really promote their cash cups, so like you'll get the typical viewership, but I feel like if they wanted to, they could get into a little bit of a production and see what they could do with, especially the final 3 best of 3s, that the semifinals and the finals. We help them out with like getting sponsorships for all of the money that they put into cash cups.
Because as far as I'm aware, the reason they invite teams, right, to like the day 2 is to get them on HLTV, right?
You talking to me?
Well, either people.
I have no idea.
Do you guys have any information on that?
I mean, I can't
say.
I can't comment on the perspective of ESEA why they have the format that they have, and I can't comment on the perspective of HLTV as to like whether something is covered on HLTV, right? It's not like a 0 to 1 kind of like this thing fits, this thing doesn't, right? It's a factor of the teams that are involved. It's a factor of the tournament organizer. How trustworthy are they? How reliable are they? Right? Because you can have a tournament organizer running like, let's just say like a $5 million event, right? But if they're not giving us the information that we need and the logs and everything, then we literally can't cover the event, right?
Exactly.
And that's not to say that ESEA are very reliable in terms of getting us the logs, getting us the things that we need. So that's not the concern there. But yeah, there is a certain threshold for like notability and like stuff that matters making it on HLTV, right? So like, is that to say that if ESEA didn't invite these teams to the second day that they wouldn't be on HLTV? Not necessarily, but it certainly helps that they're inviting these higher tier, more notable teams to make it worth the effort of covering the matches.
Watching it makes you want to watch it as a viewer.
Well, and yeah, this kind of all circles back to the point that I was gonna follow up with what Cole said, which was that, yeah, could ESEA make a bigger show of it, make a bigger production of it? Yeah, absolutely. But like fundamentally, economically, all these things cost money. Like it costs money to pay people to cast these games. It obviously costs money to foot the prize pools for these games. Um, and the one of the biggest issues, certainly, that I have had over, my, at this point, 3 to 5 years of spending a lot of attention to the North American CS scene is you're spending all this upfront capital to try to get these players and teams involved in this, and where is that ROI coming back to you? Because like in the large majority of the cases, these players, they are not sharing your content. They're not promoting that content. They're not driving anything back to you. So like while certain players may be cultivating followings and personalities and all of that stuff, it's not going back into the ecosystem to try to the rising tide lifting all of the boats. And that I think is like the one glaring difference between what we see in North America versus elsewhere, Counter-Strike elsewhere, right? Like people in Denmark understand this, people in Brazil understand this, people in France understand this, people in Germany understand this. If for some reason it is only here that there does not seem to be a like critical mass of interest in like bringing the scene up and helping the scene. I'm gonna mute myself for like 5 minutes because I just talked for like 10. So
No, you're good.
You're good. You're good.
As a player, I don't
Yeah.
know if you have anything.
Go on.
No, you go ahead. I want to
I
hear
mean,
your perspective with like your peers.
I don't know exactly why. Like you're referring to like share, like literally tweeting that you're playing in a competition, even, right, Joe?
yeah, just like that you're playing at a competition, that someone wrote something about you, that like literally
Yeah,
anything, like all press is good press, and there's like
exactly.
an unwillingness to partake in that in NA, it feels like, which is super frustrating to me as obviously one of the people very intimately involved in trying to write about North American Counter-Strike.
Oh, I bet. I know, at least from my standpoint, I've tried to share or at least like even retweet almost every single Dust 2 article or HLTV article I've seen about me. Because I feel like that's the least I can do. Like, thank you for taking your time to write something about me. Like, I feel like I don't even deserve it almost. Because I feel like I'm just the average person playing a video game. But I don't know. I don't know why people don't do it. Like I saw, what was it? Like
Are
I
you talking about
see
the note?
recruitment pages.
I think it was literally kind of discussed today, and I think that's kind of uh maybe part of like Joe mentioning it, but I think it was Blef Farce that
Blag Ferrick. Yeah, I think.
Okay. Going off of what Richard Lewis said on stream, I'm disappointed in how little respect Note and M&M's seem to
Okay, I
get.
did see that.
Yeah, okay. And both of them are probably some of the most dedicated NA journalists in the business, care a shit ton for the game, but neither have about 2,000 followers. So, I mean, the follower part, that could be mentioned too, but yeah, like the amount of like work that I know that specifically M&M's gets like doing all the advanced rankings and setting up all of the like he does a little Google forms that you can do. Like that's a lot of work to do, and like it does actually get a lot of traction with orgs and stuff, but a lot of times like you'll see the players like if they do any sort of interaction on social media, it's either to say why am I ranked this or something like that. But
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know why. I really don't know why people don't just share it, because like you said, Joe, all publicity is good publicity. Obviously you'd want to see, like, I literally have every single bookmark, or a bookmark for every single Dust 2 article about me winning rank S.
No, you
Every
don't.
single one.
No, you don't.
I could bring it up right now. Rank S recap, rank S recap, rank S recap. Swisher in a flick. Swisher wins the battle, but not the war. Swisher peered Typher first. Like, I don't know. It's just so cool to me. I don't know why people don't like it.
Yeah, I mean that warms my heart, and it also makes me a little bit sad, right? Because those are articles that got almost no traction, right? Like, and these are articles that are not only being written about like the top, player. Like, these aren't articles that are all about like Liquid and EG and Cloud9 players, right? These are articles
Yeah.
that are about players that a lot of people have never heard of. A lot of people that have like a handful of HLTV matches, or are toiling away in main or advanced, right? And that's what we're trying to do, is we're trying to, like, not expose is the wrong word, but bring exposure to these people and try to get them exposure and tell these stories. But there's just not a ton of exposure that flows back to us, right? And it's difficult. It's difficult to continue.
It really do be frustrating, I bet.
Yeah.
It do be like that.
Yeah,
NA.
Gotta be tough, but
no cap, as the kids say, I believe.
Jesus Christ. That was good. That was good. I think you nailed it.
Did I do it?
Nailed it.
Cool.
But I kind of want to continue speaking on some of the trials that NA is facing. We just, I think, officially saw Chaos's last event with them not going to the global challenge, and honestly, I think that their future's looking pretty set in stone. We've seen a lot of people, though. I mean, with the recent like information and news, like Chaos specifically not being able to get an org despite winning back-to-back tournaments. You know, the interview that they did on after their win, that was just horribly depressing to watch if you like care at all for the game. Like, even if you have already switched to Valorant and like you grew up playing CS, like just watching those people. Oh man, like just watching those people get opportunities just taken away for things like partially so far out of their control. I mean, like it was so tough to watch, but we have seen like a recent resurgence, like a lot of people putting in work. We had Diego on the episode a while back for our first episode, and I know that he's been putting in some work within the scene. I'm sure with a lot of other people trying to build it back up. But I mean, as a player, what do you think the first couple steps are in improving this like mess we're in? Might be a daunting question.
I still feel like, from a player's perspective, that there's really not that many tournaments being played in North America. Like, I go to HLTV and I see the midnight 9 to 5 7 cup thing, and I feel like there's so many cups in that European area being played that it's just like that every tier 2 team is playing in. Like, even like the cash cups, that the ESEA cash cups are being played, there's only a handful of MDL teams even playing them.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's frustrating to me. It's like, why you should be playing them? It's in quotes free money. Like, why? I don't understand why you would not want to win money.
Yeah, well, so to that point, right? Like, yeah, there aren't enough tier 2 and tier 3 cups and events that are happening. There haven't been for a very long time. But the reason that they weren't happening is because it was impossible to get noteworthy teams to participate in them, right? And as you just referenced, even with the very reduced schedule that we have in North America right now, it still isn't like you have a cash cup on the weekend and you have 18 MDL teams showing up to play. It's not even close. You don't even have half of the advanced teams showing up. So why is that, right? Because that's not the same thing that happens in Europe at
Mhm.
all, right? So it's like a bit of a chicken and the egg problem. Is it a problem that there's not enough events, or is the first problem that teams don't want to play these events because there's not enough money? Like what? I don't know. These are problems that I've struggled to answer for a very long time. Maybe you have some insight that I don't.
Um, at least in my kind of own head, I've thought like I don't know the total. I've always kind of had it in my head that like the cost of living in the US is a lot higher
Hmm.
than places in Europe. Um, to make it not as like it's not as easy to quote unquote like play this game for a living. Like you need to have a job basically outside of the game that you might not be able to play every single tournament. Um, I don't know how true that is with everybody. All these teams not playing, if that's the reason why they're not playing, or if they really just, or if they just don't see themselves winning for some reason.
Yeah. I feel
Like,
like that could
well,
be a big part of with like the
yeah, like
two
oh,
invited
Payne's gonna
teams.
win.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's gonna win. Uh, but surely you'd want to get better,
right.
and that's how you get better is playing against those teams.
Yeah, it's so I'm having flashbacks hearing you say all these things because that's like literally another excuse that I've heard when we were hosting these cups, back 2 or 3 years ago. It was like, oh, why would we play this? Like we're just gonna get banged out by like X, Y, and Z team. It's like that's not really the point, right? Like
Exactly.
the point is to try to get better. The point is to, maybe you fluke it and have, in any given Sunday moment and you make the way to like that final eight or final
Mhm.
four, and like then people are talking about you, people are writing about you, people are doing whatever. And uh yeah, I don't get it.
I don't get it either. I do not get it.
But here's an interesting segue that we can make because you referenced, your fellow, well, we'll call it your fellow Brazilians in pain, right? And a lot of people are taking issue with the fact that Payne like didn't receive an invite to relegation,
Oh my
to MDL
gosh.
relegation, right? Um, so I'm curious where you fall on that, right? Because it's like there's no in between, right? Because it's either Payne doesn't receive an invite and people are upset because now we have like just you know garbage teams in MDL, or
Mhm.
it's Payne does receive an invite and now it's you're taking away opportunities from North American players and teams to make it to MDL. So it's like, does ESEA actually have a winning move here, or like do you think there's actually a correct move here?
Um, I personally think the correct move is just to get Payne into MDL. I feel like that is by far the correct move out of everything. You
Hmm.
want as many competitive teams in MDL as you can. You want the Brazilian fans are so loyal, and that viewership would be huge. That's another 6 to 10,000, I'd say, viewers potentially for a game that they play. It just I'm shocked that they didn't even invite into
Yeah.
MDL the
No
previous season.
bias though.
No bias at all. Um,
Well,
because like, go on.
I just wanted to slot in there that like not only did they like not only did they not invite him, but they said previously like I understand like if it was like you know what we can either have these two teams play the last like they didn't have to make the decision. They had a slot reserved for an invited team. Like in the relegation
Mhm.
structure, this was announced. What was it? Announced in September or October or something. When they first announced the relegation structure, they had an invite spot slotted in.
Well,
I
this has always been the case for ESEA ever since like the relegation kind of situation came into it, but they have been historically reluctant to use it, um, because it seems like they really only want to use it like in the case of like 5 pro players from 5 EPL teams just leaving their teams and forming this new superstar roster, and like, okay, we'll invite you guys, right?
Okay.
But like they use it very sparingly. In fact, I can't even remember the last time that they used it in North America. That wild card.
Yeah.
I almost think it's never been used in North America.
It's possible.
I feel like I've heard that from somebody, maybe even M&M's, said that it was never used in North
Can't
America.
trust that guy.
and it's only maybe been used in Europe once or twice, I think.
Okay.
And I think that once was, I think, for this Vanguard roster, potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or Virtus Pro. One of those, whatever. I don't know if it's the Virtus Pro or a Vanguard. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it just does not make sense. When that Solpator roster died, I don't know if you guys are aware of that. I think I've said it a few times. For this last season, I messaged when they tweeted that they weren't going to play MDL. I messaged, I think, every single admin I possibly could about getting Gaming potentially into that spot. Literally every admin saying they had not played a match. I just could not see why they wouldn't want a team to play.
Yeah.
They said I think it was Captain said that they were gonna like talk about it internally or have a meeting about it. I never heard back from him. And then I think I messaged somebody else and they said that they had no idea of a meeting or anything. So I don't know if that was just kind of in the air, or just said to kind of make me not really question it anymore. I mean, I understand, but they literally never played a single match in the season, and then they're just gonna let that roster spot die. I don't know. I would have even been more understanding if they invited another advanced team from that relegation, just to at least fill the spot.
Right.
It's you should care. You should want as many teams as possible in MDL to play, if you're gonna have the open spots available.
And it's just more viewership. Like that just doesn't make any sense. Like you just like more games equals more viewership, which will just be better all in all for your like organization. If you're trying to like increase viewership, that's one of the things that MDL specifically has been doing such a bad job at is maintaining viewers. Like I've looked at the Twitch tracker and like on the ESEA channel, like officially over like a long period of time, and you've got the spikes of all the playoffs and finals and stuff like that, of course. But it's just been going down ever since 2018, 2019. Some of it, of course, is going to be EU MDL. But even that has been kind of decreasing. But like NA, it's just been such a stark drop, and there again, there's just so many factors that go into viewership. Like even if you account for like the partnership program, which I don't know how long that's been out for, but it's just been going down so much, and I think that's part of the issue with like money in the scene specifically. Like if there's no viewers, there's no one to advertise to. MDL doesn't have that many fans. You've got to. These are all like issues that I really want to highlight. I've been talking, or I've been trying to get in contact with like ESEA MDL, but still working on that, especially as I think people have been taking an interest in trying to get the scene back where it needs to be, because right now it's just like not sustainable at all.
Yeah. I'm just kind of segueing like vastly, but I'm wondering, I was concerned that if Mountain Dew would even pull their sponsorship when the whole match fixing stuff comes out.
I mean, ESEA was
because
like
I would definitely be concerned about that.
What was that, Cole?
I mean, ESEA's been like, at least with the Australian stuff that's come out, they've already like, whenever that came out, they made sure to get on top of that. The only thing that I can see where they would have a little bit of backup is that I think Mountain Dew League is partnered with ESL. So if they wanted to keep that partnership, they might have to keep it with ESEA. I don't know. I mean, of course, they're probably ESL is going to prioritize ESL over whatever, like Mountain Dew League, no doubt. But that might give them a little bit of comfort.
Well, I mean,
Hope
we
so.
have just earlier today we saw Flying TJ, who is like a senior VP at ESL, or whatever the case may be, talking about how there's been like apparently like a working group within ESL talking about how to help like NA like CSGO teams.
Yeah.
And I tweeted about this right before we hopped on, but it's like that's all well and good that like a tournament organizer wants to like help the situation here, but like the problems that we are facing here predate they predate like the shrinking of ESL Pro League. They predate COVID, right? Like we have like systemic mentality, motivation, drive issues here. And I mean, I consider myself to be a relatively smart person. I've banged my head against this for years. I've obviously made no headway against this problem.
Right.
But I feel very confident that like a single TO trying to take this on is not the approach, right? Like there's something that is like perhaps not rotten at the underbelly of North American CS:GO, but there's something that is like not working and not conducive to, as you said, like a sustainable system.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to fix that personally, obviously.
Yeah. It's gonna take. I mean, it's gonna take so much work. The point of kind of mentioning that TO can't fix it. But I mean, I think it just it has to start with the mentality, because like you said, when players aren't interested in playing tournaments that they think they don't have a shot in. I mean, I kind of like researched the 9 to 5 that you mentioned earlier, and I see like there's what is there, like 16 teams playing in this, all from Europe, and like they all get pretty decent viewership with their own country, but like Dignitas is in this, like that's gonna have a lot of viewers. There's so many teams that like I feel like would be worried that they can't beat Dignitas roster, who could be considered maybe tier 2-ish, but there's like good teams in here that are playing and competing, and that's one of the reasons I feel like they have such a nice scene. It's so hard to replicate, especially with like Valorant coming. I don't know.
Oh, you said it.
I
You said it.
Oh
I said
my god.
I said it
Get
because
out.
there's just like I can't like imagine like enough players being able to like even go up to these tournaments and be like take things close. I don't know.
I
It would take so much
not
time.
imagine. I could not imagine an NA kind of tier 2 thing like midnight 9 to 5. I don't think there's that enough teams, honestly, to even have that many.
Yeah,
as this tournament.
What was the closest that we saw was kind of the what was it? Winners League? That?
Yeah, Winners League kind of is in like that tier 2 to tier 3 range.
And that, I mean, Mythic has come out with their stuff, but I don't know how like long lasting that is, and I don't know how much like Winners League can put into it before they realize like you mentioned earlier, the return of investment.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a long
it's
process.
rough. I mean, where did think about it? Like, where did Cevo go? Right? Like, Cevo used to be a thing, and Cevo
just vanished.
It exploded. It explodes.
Did they tweet recently that they were coming back?
Oh, I
did they?
Oh
my god!
It was like 4 or 5 months
like,
ago.
yes, free money.
No way.
In July 29th, they tweeted initiates, but then they haven't tweeted.
That's a launch aborted, I guess.
Someone got a hold of the account and was like, "This would be funny."
Time to meme.
A lot of people don't know this, but like Cevo, I believe, was bought by Gfinity, like a few years back, right? So Gfinity ran those big, splash, like four team kind of like show show match tournaments or whatever. So it's not like, it's not like there's not money there, right? But, Cevo, I have to assume at some point looked at the landscape of CSGO and was like, we're not making a dent in this. We're not even making a dent of it in, our home territory in North America. So it's just not worth it, right? There's something to be said for plugging away at something until it works, but at a certain point, it's dollars and cents that have to align and make sense. Makes sense.
Back before I think when I was in intermediate and open, I was playing Cevo main.
Yeah.
I was playing literally. We'd have Cevo matches, ESEA matches, the same night, 2 hours apart.
Yeah.
I feel like that also Cevo kind of dissipating, kind of might have been like the start of maybe the decline, having like ESEA being the only league system in North America with no other, or even in CS really, with no competition whatsoever.
Right.
Not another competing prize pool, no nothing. Just ESEA league.
Yeah. It was always fun back in the day because between ESEA, well, it used to be like ESEA, ESL Pro League was like this terrible hyphenated thing that existed, and then there was Cevo, and you had the majority of your teams were the same, but you had like these fringe teams in either league that weren't in the other, so it was a nice way to get exposed to more teams and have more teams have a shot and a chance again at that exposure, right?
Exactly.
And to Swisher's point, like now, in North America, ESEA is the only game in town essentially, aside from Winners League. But invites to Winners League are very highly based on what people are doing in ESEA, right? So it kind of almost there's no competition, there's no differentiation, and it's kind of a bummer. I feel like I've been a real downer all episode.
I know.
No,
What's up?
It's going to sound like being downers the whole episode. It was the same type of stuff that I don't know if y'all caught past couple Richard Lewis streams, but he's been like going off with Thorn for a long time about, I mean, CS as a whole, because I mean, of course, NA CS, while it is like in a really tough state, like CS in general, with the release of Valorant, is not doing as well as it should have been. Like again, like everyone's confident that this game is going to be okay at the end of the day, but ideally, like people that care about the scene want it to lift up. So it's gonna sound awful when you're just like listing out all the problems, trying to find solutions, which is something that we've all been trying to do for years, especially you, Joe. So
yeah,
it's hard. I've got
that's why I have all these gray hairs. They don't really come out in this darkness, but they're there.
It's the dark lighting camera. You need to just turn off all your lights. You can't see anything.
These are the impending MDL investigation, match throwing issue, gray hairs.
Oh my god.
They'll generate some good clicks, though. We'll say that. I'll make that article.
That'll be on probably the big news.
Those are not the clicks that I want.
Because those are after.
Because you get those clicks, and then there are no more clicks coming after that, brother. Because no one cares anymore. I want those sustainable clicks. Let's bring that back. The sustainable.
Okay, but I kind of want to enter into maybe not the last topic, but one of the last that I've kind of got for you, which is trying to fix the MDL structure as a whole. You've had a couple of suggestions, and that's kind of what made me want to get you on this this show, because your suggestions, they seem like so feasible, and I know that you've been talking or at least like messaging back and forth people on the forum, but you suggested that we kind of get rid of the training season and make seasons for 2 seasons a year. Again, like really an idea. Like I don't feel like it's far out of the reach. It doesn't make much sense to me why this hasn't been implemented a long time ago. Training seasons are one of probably the biggest motivation killers in MDL. But make things best of 2 and best of 3, which again, when we bring it back to viewership, best of 3s have way better viewership than best of 1s. I have rarely gotten above 1,000 viewers in an MDL stream in a best of 1, but best of 3s, that third map rolls around and you've got so many people watching. Like, truthfully, blows my mind that hasn't been implemented earlier. And not only that, it helps so much with map pools and stuff like that. Like with MDL, you have 3 bans. Like, is that right? Like, you can just ban 3 maps that you just don't have to worry about until playoffs.
And then you lose in playoffs.
Yeah, exactly.
To the better team.
Right. So it blows my mind. I don't know how much you've talked about this with ESEA admins, but what are the real hangups here that have been stopping them implementing changes?
I honestly don't know. I did message a couple admins about like literally just saying this tweet saying, please, like I'd love to talk to you more about this.
Yes,
like in a serious manner. Just talk to me, and like if you don't want to do it, please tell me, like at least tell me like why.
Yeah.
Or give me like help me give me like a reason on like why you guys would not even do this, because I really don't see any reason to not do a kind of a restructure of MDL to something at least even somewhat similar to this. But I was kind of told by somebody that I can't really talk name that they are working on it. That they don't know if it's going to happen this season or not, but they are at least working on it. One way or another.
I mean, I think I can give you a good reason why there has to be these gap seasons, right? Because like there are 2 EPL seasons a year, right? And there are currently 3 MDL seasons a year, which means that there has to be like some weird in between situation. So, if we take it that we can only have 2 MDL seasons that feed into EPL, that's fine. What happens in between then? Like Swisher, I have your Wikipedia page up over here, and God knows I've written enough articles about you leaving teams and joining teams, so I know you've done quite a fair bit of it in your time, right? So think about the amount of turnover that happens in between MDL seasons, during MDL seasons. Imagine if that was expanded out to 3 or 4 months of no league. Like the teams that would be coming into the next season, well, if we're considering roster holding rules, there would be no teams. There would literally be no MDL teams that would be able to hold a spot. Right? So what do you do to fill that gap? And I don't think that there's not an answer to this, right? But the question is, what do you do to fill that gap that keeps teams and players engaged and keeps some sort of stability, like to bridge that gap, other than like a league season? And I don't know.
I mean,
another thing that I don't have the answer to.
My best idea is like right now MDL's based on best of 1s, like 3 seasons, but if you did kind of move it into a best of 3 format, you could make the matches on individual days, you know, so like every match could be broadcast either by the ESEA channel or you know, a certain like Monday through Friday of you know, whatever MDL partnered people like myself can hop on. I think like spreading out the season, maybe starting it a little bit before ESL, so you can kind of, you know, push that gap from like 4 months to maybe 2 months, and spreading out the games so that, you know, you don't have 6 MDL matches at 8:30 like we had last season, and all of that viewership that comes for MDL gets split in between like 6 different streams, and then some don't even have a caster, like we saw. I think in playoffs, like playoff matches in MDL didn't have casters.
No way.
I might be over exaggerating, but I'm pretty sure a couple this season did not have any casting.
I think you're probably correct that there were MDL matches with no
because
English casters.
I had English casters, but I remember having a gig that on a Thursday, and so I couldn't cast an MDL that night, and so that match just didn't get casted. So, yeah, I mean that's a huge issue, but maybe that's like an answer to that formatting question. Of course, it probably goes a lot deeper than that as well, though.
Something that I literally just thought of right now, this second,
Ooh.
actually was
Brain blast.
what if the roster restrictions were kind of nulled if it was a player to player transfer, team to team, player to player transfer,
like a 1-for-1 swap.
1-for-1 swap for players.
I don't know I don't know what that would have to do. How would that
that wouldn't like affect the actual
so all of the players would
the
still
roster
be in
addition.
MDL.
The players would still be in MDL, but like let's say like I was gonna go to Whalers and the Rampage was gonna join Yeah Gaming.
Leaks.
Something like that. But like that would cost each team a roster move.
Yeah.
What if you could just transfer those players and that roster move wouldn't be taken into account? Yep.
Yeah,
that
that's
doesn't
not a bad
seem
idea.
horrible.
No, I mean that sounds perfectly feasible. I don't know. I mean, I don't think that there would be much issue. Again, like I feel like at certain points, talking about ESEA, you can be kind of, spitting at spitting ideas at a brick wall. But
okay, so I don't want to be like the ESEA defense squad or whatever, but like let's talk about this. You guys are proposing like BO2s or BO3s or whatever. Let's talk about how in the very first early seasons of ESL, ESEA Pro League, it was BO2s. They weren't back-to-back BO2s, but every team would play 2 matches against every other team. And guess what fucking happened? The fucking teams didn't want to play that much. So then we got rid of that. Right?
That was for Pro League, right?
Yeah, that was for Pro League.
Yeah. I that's when I actually liked watching Counter-Strike.
yeah,
I liked watching those best of 2s.
yeah, that was.
I don't know why they wouldn't have wanted to play that much because it's really not that many matches.
Was that before
there was
they
like what?
got onto Facebook?
Go on.
Oh, this is way before. This is
Yeah.
I'm talking 2015 here.
Right.
This is like
I mean,
basically before you both were alive.
that was when I would watch Pro CS as well. I like stopped in 2016 for a little while, and I remember those best of 2s were super fun to watch. But also like that was at a point in time where there's probably more money in the scene than ever, like 2016, 2015. So
like you're talking about like season 2021-ish kind of, when it was actual the professional division was still kind of right inside of ESEA. Is that when you're kind of referring to?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the literal first season of ESL, ESEA Pro League.
Okay.
So this is May 2015 to June 2015 with a cool 125 grand on offer, featuring such illuminous teams as Affinity, which I'm sure no one besides me remembers, Nihilum Gaming,
I remember
Ace
Nihilum.
Gaming, Mouse Spaz, Tempo Storm, Elevate, all the OGs.
Elevate. I remember the Tempo Storm, Nihilum, and Elevate. I still see Elevate, and they were one of my favorite rosters way back when.
But let's also talk about this, right? You guys are talking about effectively doubling the amount of maps that an MDL season requires, right? And again, one of the biggest complaints that people have had, that players have had about MDL is like, I'm spending this entire season playing MDL, and at the end of the day, if I'm lucky enough to place third, my team gets like less than $10,000, right?
Yeah.
So So why would I not just grind rank S FPL, and I could be making that in 2 months, or I could be like, forget that, in 1 month, the cut of what that would be to that, right? So I don't think as ESEA you can expand the amount of maps that are going to be played in MDL without like certainly at least doubling the prize pool, because people already take issue with what the prizes are in ESEA for the the length of the season and how long it takes to actually realize that reward, that prize money at the end, right?
Yeah,
I can definitely understand that.
yeah. Again, I feel like
Yeah,
that's part of the reason. That's every solution that I
they're
think
probably
of.
not doing it.
I think I am like a huge genius, and like I've saved in ACS, and of course I know that's not the case because there's so much that I don't know about when it like the background and like financial situations, even like trying to get players alone to get to a best of 3, which was an issue in playoffs already this season in MDL. So definitely see that point, but to kind of maybe answer that a little bit and like give a counter, could kind of increase the prize pool by taking out a whole season and spreading it out through the 2 seasons, and then on top of that, now maybe Mountain Dew could fork out a little bit of more cash for the increased viewership that they get with best of 3s, but
Maybe gotta go. I believe Mountain Dew is a Pepsi product. Gotta go to Coca-Cola
PepsiCo.
Company, see if they can, fork out a little bit more money to become the
official
Gatorade's Pepsi too. I don't know. I'm trying to think of an off-brand
Powerade?
Coca-Cola product that is Powerade Coke. I don't know. Sure,
Probably.
why
If
not?
Gatorade's Pepsi, then Powerade's
Yeah.
probably Coke.
Powerade
I
League.
imagine.
The PL doesn't have like a great ring to it though. Like
No.
there's something to the MDL, the 3
Yeah.
do.
Oh yeah.
You know. PAL, Powerade League.
I like that.
So like as of right now, it's what Global Challenge is 75K. North American MDL is just 3 MDL, the Global Challenge spots, 3 spots, and then just 2,500. So that could effectively be what, like, plus another $37,000 added on per season. That'd make first could be like more upwards of 35,000 compared to 25,000. 5th and 8th could be like upwards of, instead of 3750 right now, it would be more of closer to 5-6K. It definitely looks more intriguing to the average player. The more money, the higher prize pool.
Where
Definitely.
do you? Sorry,
go on.
Finish up.
No, that was just finishing.
Where do you sit on like top heavy prize pools versus prize pools that are like giving a taste to people a little bit further down the table? What do you think about that?
I prefer. It's literally depends on where I place. I mean, like, if I finish last, of course I'll take the $1,000. But if I want to finish first, I want it all.
Yeah.
Classic
but I'm
NA
more,
player.
I mean, I personally prefer a more kind of top to medium heavy prize pool. If you finish last, you shouldn't really be getting that much. Just be better. The best team should get the most. The worst team should get the least. Like by far the least, if anything. Consolidation prizes.
I'm certainly not advocating for some like dystopian socialist like situation where like the number 1 team actually gets the least amount of money and like the bottom team is like, you guys probably need this more than we do. You can
Yeah.
Doing too much winning.
So you're talking about like, let me pull up a figure. Because I think DreamHack was like, this last DreamHack event was, I think like a 50-20 10-10 maybe 5-5 ish.
DreamHack's been blowing my mind with their like long seasons, and they're very limited prize pool. But I guess it's kind of a result of probably the COVID time. But
so would the NA prize pool have been bigger if Liquid and EG were still in it, or was it still have been the 70,000?
it would have probably been the same because the EU, I believe, was nearly the same. I was more
Was
referring
it?
to EU. Yeah, I can't imagine it was much more than 70,000 for EU
I
as
thought
well.
it was more. Hold on.
But I remember a stat like like Vitality had to play 37 matches to get $35,000 in first place.
You're talking about Masters winner or
Yeah,
or
Masters winner.
This Vitality thing was a while back, but
yeah, that was a
So
while ago.
it
I
was
mean,
doubled. Europe
it
was
was yeah,
doubled.
it was more than
okay,
double.
that's
Yeah.
good. I mean, not good for it. Good for.
But it also had like double the amount of teams, right? And this is
It did.
like these are changes that DreamHack have been making, I guess, like since we've had the COVID impacted schedule. Like they've made
Mhm.
these changes to the DreamHack Showdown events as well, where the summer iterations of both these events had, I believe, 6 teams or 8 teams invited to the playoffs and or like to the main event essentially. And for the winter edition, they shifted that to where the European event has slightly more money and a few extra teams. Like there's just way more teams in Europe than there are in North
There
America,
really
right?
is.
So what are you gonna do? I mean, people are
Everyone-
gonna bitch about it no matter what you do, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The Europeans want more money. The North Americans want more money. Everyone wants more money.
Yeah. Everyone come
Money
back from
makes the world
Valorant
go
already.
around.
More CS players.
I'm honestly surprised that Valorant really didn't take off at all in Europe.
I am
Like
too.
hardly at all.
Yeah, that is surprising. Although I
Well-
get it, kind of speaks to the health of the EU scene and like the
Mhm.
amount of money you can make just playing CS. There's no real motivation. Yes.
I mean, you have a lot of, I guess not to the degree. I mean, certainly in Europe, we haven't had like the equivalent of a Nitro stepping down from CS to pursue Valorant, right? But there are a fair amount of very notable European CS players that are playing in Valorant, right? You have your Mixwells, your Lowells, your David P's, and so on and so
Scream.
forth. Scream,
I
Piff.
heard an interview about Draken being one possibly the best opper in the world that I saw on my timeline, and that kind of blew my mind.
In
It's
Valorant?
like, yeah, or operator, I guess. Valorant.
Yeah,
Same with
that's
kind of Wardell, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was competing with Wardell because he was like, EU is miles ahead of NA, and I was like, I wouldn't be so confident saying that. There's like quadruple the amount of teams in NA.
I mean, hit registration in Valorant is so garbage that, Draken would be a great player. I'm out.
So much bigger. Oh man.
The Draken whiffs. Classic.
Oh.
No, shout outs to Draken. Shout outs to Cringe Gods. For those who keep the faith here. I feel like we're verging on taking too much of your time here, Swisher. But I would like to ask you like a very broad, open-ended question, or maybe
Okay.
2 open-ended questions, which is like, who would you say are some of the best players / teammates that you've played with thus far, and like through this season of toil in advanced, is there like anyone that really caught your eye that you think could be maybe not like the next big thing, but people that we should be paying attention to?
Like outside of
Outside
right?
of outside of Michael Swisher Schmidt and and his teammates,
I think the biggest name probably is Vic. On GGPR that was brought up to me. People think I've gotten so many people that have thought like, look at this clip, he's cheating, he's aim locking.
I've gotten a lot of that in my chat while casting.
Yeah, and I'm like, if that's him, it looks a little sketchy. But I think is he 15 still?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
believe
he
he's
is.
15. I think he'll be 16 by the time the next season starts, which is huge.
That's good
I believe.
news.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
great
not
news.
an elite situation. I've had to deal with that when I went advanced the first time around. But yeah, he definitely seems like one of the brightest players in advanced going into MDL. His first season, great stats to put behind himself to kind of be like, hey, look at me. Outside of Vic, it's realistically, I don't think that there's too many like new players. I think we see a lot of old players kind of re-shining, like that whole Sherps roster, GSG9.
Sure.
Yeah.
Robbie 1, just demolishing still.
The SteamAnalyst.com legend, obviously.
Ocean.
Big O securing the big dubs. It's so weird though, because I feel like a lot of these teams, and it sounds mean, like I don't want to have like an ego or have people think I have an ego, but I feel like a lot of these teams don't even seem MDL ready, to put it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like a lot of these teams, almost like what you see from MDL going to Pro League, where you see like the winner of MDL that goes to Pro League just loses Pro League and goes back to MDL the next season. I feel like there's kind of a high potential to see the same thing with some of these advanced teams. That go on.
Well, I was gonna say that I think that like is almost always the prevailing thought, but I will say that and like I haven't done any research into this to back this up, but I think that the like the promoted teams from this previous season of MDL actually did like very well compared to what anyone could have reasonably expected. You had I think both RBG and Depth made playoffs after you know, just getting promoted to the league. And maybe people would have expected something more from RBG because they had kind of shown a run of form, but I don't think anyone really would have expected that Timberman depth roster to really make like a deep run of it or a solid run of it.
I didn't, at least.
When they got Florgy, I was really excited, I will say. And then when they beat RBG, I was like very early on in the season, I was super pumped for that roster. But
what big ones
then they dropped Florgy, and I was a little bit concerned.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like all I'll say is that like yeah, maybe they're not like MDL ready, but like you know,
they could
we had 3 advanced rosters make MDL from relegation, and only one MDL team managed to make it back, right? So, does that mean that like those former MDL rosters are more ready? I mean, I think there is something to be said for like the turnover. I think there is like a healthy amount of turnover.
Yeah,
and we'll see what happens.
I just hope to see these teams sticking together and practicing. Because like out of the bottom like 10 MDL teams, I don't think a single one practices, which is just so bad. And that's I think what made RBG and Timberman honestly get them to playoffs, is that they just put in the work and it paid off.
Yeah. So I mean, if you were, so we talked about Rise a little bit earlier, right? And Rise has Fideli, who put up some great performances in playoffs, although you know, and relegation, but not enough to get them across the line. But let's talk about, if you were on Rise, what would you do during the off season, and then also what do you think will actually happen during the off season?
I hope their team doesn't break apart. I really hope not. I'm good friends with Consti. Like I said, he talked to me after their first relegation win.
Yeah.
But I really hope that they stick together. It's just, I hope, honestly, like the way that this MDL season is going to be, someone's going to probably be poached, sadly, from that roster.
Yeah. There's still a lot of open spots that haven't been filled yet.
Yeah. I mean, there's literally the possibility of everybody on that roster being poached onto different teams. So many teams. If these teams want to put in the practice, because what is the Russian Canadians roster dead? Maybe. No. I was told I think that they're gonna keep it or try to keep it.
I imagine they keep it.
I was told
Third
that
Impact is looking for 2. I think that Incognito's looking for 2. Like there's like those non-playoff teams that are all looking for a couple, and then even
Third Impact picked up Walker and Brett.
Oh yeah, they already picked up their 2.
Yep, they're missing. They're still missing one. I believe they're trialing Wilkie, or they have been trying out Wilkie. I don't know what's gonna happen, but yeah, against all odds, it seems like the Russian Canadians core may stick together, except for Saturn who is looking for a team. So it seems like Joel's, Vec, and Joel's and Vec may hold that roster because they've been playing cash cups together.
Have they? Okay,
Yeah.
because I thought who else was on that roster? I think that's who I heard, and possibly maybe even Castro coming back. Maybe even Vec and Castro.
Yeah, I think the three of them have been playing cash cups as run and gun, which is literally insane to me. If you're Joel's and these guys no show your playoff match and you have to forfeit and you're going back to that questionable decisions, I would say.
Yeah. Is that kind of a result of I don't know why they would come back after doing that. That's so unbelievable. I'm trying to think, was there any Russian Canadian players in the DreamHack tournament?
No.
Was there?
Nope. Battery's been playing Valorant.
Okay.
I know that at least.
Kicked his pot addiction. Congratulations.
I know, I'm good friends with him. He actually lives pretty close to me, like 30 minutes away.
Really? Wait,
yeah.
I thought he was Canadian. How does he live close to you?
No, he lives in California.
Fucking liar.
But I don't know. I've never really talked to Saturn. I think Austin's probably still gonna put his collegiate in front of MDL.
Yep.
So I kind of would leave just Vec and Joel's.
Yeah.
All right, I'm coming after Battery now to fix his flag. Lying bastard.
Oh my god. Sorry. But what was I gonna say? Oh, I really hope that a lot of these MDL teams don't make the mistake of not adding players before or after registration or before registration.
Yeah.
Because people are stupid and they're gonna wait till after registration ends and then start using the roster slots, and they'd be like, "We don't have any roster slots remaining. I don't know what to do."
This is all ESEA's fault. Why would they make these? Why would they make these rules 10 years ago that we didn't know about?
It needs to be a PSA put out at the start of every season, just telling them what to do.
I know. I'm probably gonna even tweet going like, "Hey, idiots, make sure you add your people."
Get a couple subs in there too, in case you.
I don't know how much more of a PSA you can put out than every season they announce. Like, here is when registration starts. Here is when registration ends. Here is when the roster lock is. Here is when playoffs will be. Here are the days that playoffs will be. And still, every year, it's always, oh, we didn't get to add people. Oh, the roster lock is now. What happened?
Yeah.
Oh, we can't play on this day. I thought that 48-hour window was like a guideline. I don't know. Like, this isn't Pirates of the Caribbean, dude. Like, no.
It's a whole 2-month gap though in between seasons, so you just playoffs end and everyone forgets by the time next season.
People aren't going to practice till a week before MDL. That's when practice is going to start.
People are going to be playing Valorant for 3 straight months before MDL starts, and they're going to come back and they're going to be like, Jet Flash.
Sage, where are you?
Res me. Oh god, crazy.
Oh man,
that's all I got for the episode. I feel like that's a good spot to wrap up. Do you have anything else to ask Swisher before we head out, Joe?
No, I just want to say thank you for coming on with us to BS and listen to this old man rant.
No, my god, that old. Shut up.
But no, if you have any shout outs or anything you'd like to plug, floor is yours.
If you don't already follow me on Twitch, I stream daily. I've been streaming daily for a month and a half.
Oh yeah.
I think it's also important that we don't see from a lot of NA players is they don't stream.
Yeah.
Stream.
Pwn Alone's been streaming as well. I hate to like ruin your shout out, but I love watching.
Even Pwn Alone is streaming.
Right.
Pwn. We see what Modem's been streaming a lot. MOTM.
Yeah.
Ian. God, just stream. It's free viewers.
Right.
Pwn Alone had tweeted exactly 0 times, as of like a month ago. but like he's another old man like me. He might actually even be older than I am, or maybe as old as I am. Yeah, if he's 29, then he's older than I am. Think how terrifying is that?
29.
Wow.
29.
Big Josh.
Old man Josh.
Getting better with age.
I'll be there soon. It's true. Yeah.
He literally is.
All right.
But,
so follow Swisher on
Swisher.
Twitter.
Swisher,
Follow him on Twitch. Do the whole
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, gaming. MDL.
Go, yeah.
Very
We
exciting.
did it.
Yeah.
Catch you soon. But then, oh,